all week. Good morning, Dr. Schwartz-Arad. And may I call you Doobie? Because
Yes,
that's
me too.
okay. Thank you so much.
For,
Um,
for us, it's afternoon, but good morning to
you're
you.
right. Good afternoon. I apologize. I forgot
Yes.
where you were for a moment. So I appreciate you doing this because you've had an extremely busy day. Yes, as you've already. How many patients have you seen so far?
Well, this day was a little bit different from any other day because in the morning I was in the giving a TV show, and then I came work till like 10 minutes ago. So I've seen few patients, yes.
The day doesn't end for you, does it? Um, we started to talk. I obviously have heard of you. Everybody knows you. I'm an endodontist, so it was, I'm off in another world. But the more people I've met, from Henriette to Catalin, and people that know you well, that have worked with you, that have lectured with you, that hold you in the highest of esteem. We had a chance to talk at the beginning, so I could actually find out who you were. And so you told me an interesting story. You're not Israeli, you're Romanian, along with just literally everybody else in the dental world. Romania seems to have been like the genesis of dentistry in the world. But you're not just Romanian. You told me there's an interesting story. You're half Romanian, whatever that may mean. I don't quite understand. But what does that mean?
Okay. First, I'm Israeli. I was born in Israel, in Jerusalem. And
Ah,
we'll talk about Jerusalem because it's quite what gave me the background of what I am. Nevertheless, my parents are from different countries. My father is from Romania, from Iasi. There was a big Jewish community there. And my mother was born in Lebanon, in Beirut. Her father came from Italy, from Livorno, and her mother came from Lebanon. So I'm half Lebanese, Jewish Lebanese, and half Romanian. And how they met, this is a true story. This is due to before the Second World War, my father ran away from Romania, started all there was a big killing Jewish genocide in Yassi just before the Second World War. And he was running there with few of his friends through Turkey with a yacht. And then in Turkey, they stole everything from them and they walked to Lebanon and were adopted by Jewish families in Beirut. And that's how he met my mother.
wow.
Later on, they came together illegally to Israel, walking through the north border and settled in Jerusalem.
Wow. That's quite something. Holy cow. I
I'm
don't.
the youngest of three daughters, so I was born in Jerusalem.
Okay, so I'm going to ask about Jerusalem in a minute, but I'm going to go someplace that perhaps I really shouldn't because it matters to me. I've been doing this now for 20 years, one way or another. I started off with root canals and now doing roots and whatnot. And the same thing has gone on every year. I'm Canadian, I'm Jewish, and I talk to people who are Muslim, who are Christian, who live in communist countries or what were communist countries, which maybe are becoming again, I don't know. So there's always been a our politics and our countries are different. Our cultural backgrounds are different. Our religious backgrounds are different. But when we talk dentistry, we're all the same, right? When we talk about what we do, we're all the same. So on a certain level, what it does, at least personally, is all of this borders and boundaries and geographies and histories and wars and all this stuff, they're horrible. They're ridiculously horrible. But they were because of governments, not because of people. And even though people were engaged in it. So what are your thoughts on that? You were born in Lebanon, from Romania. The history of your parents is a history of far too many people, not just our people, but of so many other people around the world. Some of the people I've talked about from Romania, obviously they were there when the communists ran the country. And it was a horribly oppressive society. Um, Other people are now in Syria or Iraq or Iran, whatever. And again, they're still fighting. Everybody's still fighting. I don't understand why people are still fighting. It's a small world. We're here for such a short period of time. What do you gain by fighting and not making it a better place? I don't get it. But you do that. Doesn't matter who you talk to, doesn't matter who you teach. It applies to everybody. What are your, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't want to embarrass you. I don't want to do anything that you're not comfortable with. And if I'm off base, please say so. But what are your thoughts on that, given your history and your background?
Okay. I wish it was different. Let's start with the end. But coming from Jerusalem, and this was important, it's living with different religious, Muslim, Christians, Judaism. They are Jewish. They are the three most important. Of course, in Israel, we have Cherkessis, we have Druze, we have others as well. And in Jerusalem, actually, we learn how to live together or to fight together. Right. So, you know, it's a very problematic area. So in 1967, when everything started, we all felt different. So I wish I will not talk about politics, but I want to talk about something that we have in Israel that is not like in the state of Canada or other places. We have people, Jewish people, coming from all over the world. And we have from Ethiopia, from Morocco, from Iraq, from Iran, from Russia, from Europe, from the States, from Brazil. And just dealing with these Jewish people from all countries, you need to tolerate and to accept different habits and cultures. So I myself do not care about the religious. I'm non-religious at all, but I'm non-religious. So I feel the same. That's my attitude. I'm completely not religious. I'm Jewish, but not religious Jewish. So nevertheless, we teach our kids the inheritance of Judaism. We celebrate Pesach, we celebrate other holidays in a non-religious way. Yet, we really admire and take it seriously and really like other holidays as well. For instance, we have here a surgical center. And in these surgical centers, I have nurses. And I have 3 male nurses who are Muslims. And they have now the Eid al-Fitr and they have the Ramadan. And it's okay. They pray here 5 times a day, and we live together, we work together. And I find it the most important thing, because when I operate, I work with my nurse, surgical nurse is male, Muslim male. And I have, so I really try to combine, and I think what I try to say, coming from Jerusalem in such a different cultures, is to combine. And actually combination, it's my belief, because I don't think that one thing you can solve with just one thing. You have, it's a multifactorial everywhere. Our profession is multifactorial. If someone has problem with an implant, it's multifactorial.
Yes.
So, living is of course multifactorial. So I think you need lots of tolerance and empathy and sympathy to have the ability to live here in Israel or anywhere else. And just one more sentence about it. When we talk about Beirut, if I go to conferences, I meet many colleagues coming from Beirut or coming from Iran or coming from Iraq, and we have the same feelings that we are not politicians, that we deal with our profession. And this is really good because we feel free to talk about the profession without taking any consideration about the origin of the human being. And I wish it was like this in politics as well. But of course, you and me cannot solve it through this Zoom talk today.
Well, you never know. You don't know who's listening, and you don't know who wants. I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant, but you just never know, because it's like anything else. Throw it out to the universe, and you'll see what happens. You never know. It's always worth trying. So You have to. So your parents came to Israel, and obviously in its infancy, and there really wasn't a great deal there. They had to build it from the ground up, as it were. What did your father do? What was his profession?
Actually, he was a lawyer in Romania. But since he came illegally to Israel, he couldn't work. It was the time when the British government was here, so he worked in different, and he never got back to be a lawyer. My mother was had atelier. She was used to take. They spoke French between them. Don't ask if I speak French.
Do you speak French?
No, but I understand. You cannot cheat me with French. uh, because, you know, this is very interesting story. As kids, we didn't want to talk French because we wanted to talk Hebrew because our parents came from different countries, from Russia, from Romania, and we were ashamed talking different than Hebrew. So I didn't want to learn other language than Hebrew at the time because we were ashamed. Today, I'm sorry about it because getting all these different nationality, and you went to the kindergarten and to the school and you wanted to talk the same language. You don't want to feel different. That's why I didn't speak French, but nevertheless, they lived together, but they died when they were almost 90 years old. My father was 90, my mother was 86, and they worked together for almost 40 years.
Oh, I hear echoes here. There's echoes going on here. Holy cow.
Yeah, they started in a separate, she had an atelier, he had his store, and then she decided he's not too good with business, so she came and helped him.
I love it. That's outrageous.
Yeah.
So, did she teach you how to be a couturier? Did she?
How to be?
Atelier? She like with clothing. Did she teach you how to become like the couturier of Haifa or Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or the Israeli? Just the Israeli Chanel or anything along those lines? No.
Since then, I stitch very well.
That's what taught you how to stitch. That's amazing. That's, I think, where I was going with that. So I'm looking at this, I'm looking at your CV, and I'm still trying to figure this out because you are obviously one of the most accomplished clinicians, most respected in the world. But you graduated in 2008. Is that it says you got your DMD and your PhD? Oh, no, sorry, my bad. You lectured until 2008. That's where I was confused. When did this all begin for you?
Oh, you don't ask that.
Okay. Let's pretend this has nothing to do. See, I misread that, so I was going to say that's amazing, but I misread it. So my apologies for going back too far.
At 12 years old.
You were 12 years old when you became a dentist. I think that's amazing. Like, look how accomplished you are in the last 10 years. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
So,
well, I started in Jerusalem in the dental school, and then I did the residency in Hadassah Medical Center, and immediately I found research very interesting, so I went and did a PhD degree in cancer research.
Yes.
Then I moved to Tel Aviv University. I taught there for 20 years and started my private practice. And 2003, I built the first surgical center with the theater authorized by the Ministry of Health for, we call it mid-level surgery for plastic surgery and all maxillofacial surgery. And since then, we have this surgical center, which we renewed 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, and we made it bigger, and that's where I am now in Tel Aviv.
In Tel Aviv. So you and Ziv Mazur go to lunch a great deal of the time, right? You go to lunch with Ziv all the time?
We are good friends, but we are not at the same building, and I don't have time to go out of the building. But I eat lunch with my husband every day.
Lunch with your husband. Today?
Every day.
Every day?
every day.
Oh, heavens. Is there, really?
Is in the upper floor in the
37%.
office rooms, and they come down. He's in charge of the food. He's not making it, but he's in charge.
Fair enough. So it's interesting. Something just happened here that I have found with so many people. We went from being a child to being a dentist very quickly, but there's a period of time in there that I don't know about. So your mom, your dad, you're a dentist, okay? Your mom and dad. Mom was a.
I'm the only dentist in the family.
So how did you end up as a dentist? Why?
Well, that's very interesting. First, I was quite a troubled child. They were a little bit religious, and I went to non-religious Shomer HaTzair organization. You know the Shomer HaTzair? It's on the left wing. It's kid youth movement, a little bit to the left. Mm-hmm. And then I started to work in kibbutz on the holidays. And with time, I got quite to be quite independent. But then I went to the army for 2 years. Of course.
You were in the army? Yes, of course.
I was in the army. I was an officer in the army. And then I know my hobbies are painting. And at the time I was sculpturing as well. Today I just paint, but at the time I used to sculpture. And I was looking for a profession that will combine these abilities with my love to biology. And I just decided to learn dentistry. Really? Because I thought it will suit me.
So I have to ask you a question, and it's
It was completely conscious and just decision after thinking. Nothing.
So there was no specific incident, no specific person, nobody sort of flipped the switch. It just, after a judicious sort of appraisal, you said, I'm going to be a dentist. It just made sense.
I thought about architecture as well. Mm-hmm. Yes, but decided to go on dentistry.
So I have a question.
I loved more biology than mathematics, and I thought it would be better for me.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you about the Army for a reason, the armed forces for a reason. It's unfortunate or fortunate, depends on how you want to look at it. It's a very formative period. It's required service. In Israel, everyone has to do service for 2 years after high school, right?
Yes.
It's like you have a gap year. You go away for, no, after the Army, you go away for a year, right? Isn't that how they always do it?
Not myself, but today, yes. Not at the time, we went straight to the university.
Okay. I know many Israelis who live here. One of my professors was an Israeli at school. I had a difficult time with him for a reason, not because he was Israeli, but his mindset was very much like he was still in the army. Yeah, there's a fascinating story. I'll tell you very quickly. I won't mention any names because that's not appropriate. But during his service, they were doing parachute training. You had to jump out of a plane. Well, his ripcord didn't work. His parachute didn't work. And he's just plummeting to the ground, right? So he had the presence of mind to sort of, I've never jumped, so you kind of move yourself around in the wind. And he grabbed onto another person who was coming down. And fortunately, they both landed. Nobody got hurt. So he saved his life by his brains, by his wits. He was a tank commander during one of the wars. And I don't want to get into that either, but he was a tank commander. And he was in one of the battles that was probably the most severe. Like a lot of people died on both sides and completely unnecessary, but it happened. The reality is what it is. So when I had him as an instructor, a brilliant man, absolutely brilliant. But I always felt like I was in the army when I dealt with him. Like I just found him that way. There was no emotion. Everything was just, do this, do this, do this. And so I have to wonder, does that part of your life, like those 2 years, because it's required, it's not, you're not drafted, it's not volunteer, you go. It's a responsibility of your life. Does that make a difference in the people in the country, or you in particular, or people that you know, in terms of how you see life going forward?
There are lots of interesting tiers in these questions. Listen, it's also about men and women and how they educated and how to become a macho in the army. And then you want a man to be connected to his feminine side to understand his wife. So there are lots of problems that they grow in the army. Yes, I think for men more than women in that case, because usually, unfortunately, I must say, it's not equality in the army, not yet, although our daughter is a pilot.
Really?
Yes. We believe in equality, as you understand, but usually it's different. And I think, yes, they carry it with them. I say they, because we are talking mostly about men, because since 18 to 21, it's a very important time when you have these habits and you are prepared for war. You're prepared to protect life.
Yes.
So I think unfortunately, I must say, yes.
Yeah, and it lasts.
In a way, but I don't feel that way at all about myself. Maybe someone who can see me from the outside would say it, but I was an officer, but I was sitting in an office and doing reserve. For myself, I don't think these 2 years really influenced so badly in my life, or for the good as well. I feel different about it, but as a rule, I think it's a yes question.
Yes, and you've obviously become involved with Henriette, with Catalin, with there's just what 45 different people, Andrea, who are involved with leading ladies of dentistry, for example. So, what is your perspective on this in terms of why that group was necessary? Was it necessary? Is it necessary? I mean, DDS, for example, is one thing. Digital is a common ground. But, you know, do you feel, for example, I'm looking at the list that I have here somewhere that Henriette sent me. All of these ladies that are involved, who are leading ladies in dentistry. Is this necessary? Is it important? Like, is it going to make it? I know it'll make a difference, but let me rephrase it.
Can you make it more specific, the question?
Why is it necessary?
Such a big question for me.
It's a big question.
My life, yes. Story of my life.
I'm going to focus on
make it small.
Okay. Let me make it narrow because I'm trying to think of how to phrase it without offending anyone. Why is leading ladies of dentistry necessary?
Why?
Why is it necessary, or why did it form, and why did the people who got together felt it was necessary to focus on being the leading ladies of dentistry?
Okay.
It's my English, Dubi. It's my English.
No,
my English is not very good.
Listen, with this subject, I really deal all my life, all my professional and life, not just professional, also my private life. It's a really big question, whether to need it or not. And of course, I talk about it everywhere and anywhere. So let's just try to talk about leading ladies. We want it and we don't want it.
Okay, sounds fair.
I wish we wouldn't need it. The problem is, and I'll give you just some numbers, just to make it understand. Today, or let's say 2018, when I just checked the percentage in Canada or in Israel, there are about 30 to 50, depends on the country, percentage of women studying dentistry. About 30 to 40 in most countries. And you would expect that the same number would be on stage.
Yes.
Are they?
No.
Maybe 3% in a good day.
Yes. On a good day.
This is one thing. The second thing, how many private practice are opened by women? Just let's go one step back. If you look at the numbers, how many private practice are honored by women? There are 20% less than men. Depends on the age, and this is very interesting. If you look at age, around 40 to 50, or from 30 to 40, those are the highest peak of private practice for men. This is the lowest point for women, which start to open their practice when they are 50 later on. Still, there will be 30% or 25% less all the time. It's stable. And you can imagine why this is happening. And this is happening because at that time, they grow family. From 20 to 40, let's take this 20 years. And why do I go to this point? Because we want to bring this, and we are talking about, I keep on another thing. Geography is very important because we are talking to women that already learn profession, private profession, independent profession. It's not like in the Middle East in some countries, or in even the Far East, or in Arab countries, in Saudi Arabia, in other countries. So let's talk just on those parts of countries that has this ability to be independent professionally. Yet they cannot take this independence furthermore because the environment is not going with them in this profession the same way. Concerning the family, children, and all this family business. Usually they have to take care at the same time, and they don't have enough time to develop a career because even if they want to, because they don't have this social surrounding holding them inside. So this leading lady business meant to encourage those who can to move forward, to lean forward, as Sheryl Sanders said in the book. So this is only the part, very small part, that we talk to these women, to this dentist, take the advantage of your profession, if you can, and move forward, lean forward. It's not for you, it's not for my husband, it's for those women who can and need this encouragement. But we have a long way to go yet to get to 50-50%. Maybe in Norway, when we have the prime minister, the other minister there, half the government is female. So in the north, maybe we don't need leading lady companies. In the Far East, in the Saudi Arabia, we are not there yet at all. We had still to take their cover from their face first and give them the ability to drive the car and to go out of the house without their husband or brother to take care of them. But those countries that are still 30% compared to 50%, we want them to encourage to take this advantage. So unfortunately, we need this leading lady business.
Okay, that explains a great deal, but it's also a question now of time. I looked at what you do, what you've done. You also, for example, are a research professor in Spain in terms of pharmacological research. What is it that you're doing in pharmacology? In the midst of all of this, your center, your lectures, your publications, your book chapters, you go to Spain, you're still involved in pharmacology research, for example? It's just something else. I'm looking at all of your leading ladies, all of these things that you do. Where do you find time to do research, for example? Where do you find time to do anything, let alone research? You're just so incredibly busy all the time.
I love research, I love teaching. Actually, this place, the surgical centers, we have three legs. It's care, learn, and research. Okay, so these are very important because we think without research you cannot get forward with your profession. And since PhD, I really love research, so I just keep on doing it. It's a completely different research. I used to do cancer research. I don't do it anymore for more than 20 years. And I do bone research on implants, the things that I live and know about. So, and teaching as well. I just love teach and I just love research. So I do what I like because I left the university 12 years ago, in 2007. And now I do it here as continuous education courses in-house or outside or now Zooming.
Yeah.
And keep on documenting almost everything I document.
Right.
And just I learn a lot from this documentation. Actually, for the students, I told them when you finish school, just buy a camera. This is the first thing. But today you even can do it with your cellular, do quite good job. But at the beginning, I had to really buy a camera for this. So research is in my heart.
For sure. I didn't actually segue away too far. There was a reason that I brought it up because that's the one thing I don't know that a lot of people know about you, that you're still doing research. They know about you as a presenter, cases, ridge reconstruction, aesthetics, the very essence of what your practice or center is all about. But the research part, I didn't know about because I read the articles, read the books, but I had no idea. But the method and the madness there was to circle back. So you present, you publish, you write chapters in textbooks, you run a center, you do continuing education, you run an incredibly busy practice, and you also manage to do research. All of those things, right? And
concerning this, sorry I disturb you.
Sure.
About research. You wanted to complete your question.
No, it's okay. The problem, see, and this is where this
Israeli style, sorry.
This is where this question is going. Zoom is very difficult.
I just forgot to say, research is not just you, it's a profession. For instance, I work a lot with bone substitute. And now, these days, for many years, I had grant from the university on cancer research and other stuff. And as a private practice, I couldn't get grant for research. So I do it from my private money.
Right.
But lately, I now have a work done with, I'm doing a research with Geistlit company, and I'm very proud of it that they agreed to grant this project together with Piatelli in Italy. So we work together. He will do the histology, and I'm doing the operation, of course. And I'm very proud because being a private institute and to get this grant means a lot to me. So research is really one of the very strong legs that I'm standing on in this place, in this.
I'm glad you said that because actually you just set up my question in a way. First of all, this is difficult because the audio and video on Zoom, given the distances, is like not the same. I hear things or see things, so you tend to step on people's statement because you don't know when they've stopped. That being said, you just said Zoom. This medium is our future. Hopefully not with the same sort of basic technology because it's not great. It needs to be improved, audio, video. The way we do it, maybe more than just virtual backgrounds, virtual studios. I'm sure this just came on now because of COVID. 6 months from now, Zoom may be like CNN. You know, you'll look like a CNN studio. I don't know. However, but you just actually posed the question, so I thank you. You are standing on an unbelievable number of pillars that make up your life right now. Research, lecturing, books, publications, clinical practice. And to sum it all up, your entire, the ethos, the culture in which you have created for yourself, is facing forward. Okay? Everything about you has been to take your past. It's like looking at an archaeologic dig. You know, you go through various layers of foundations of civilizations, right? Everything is built on something else. They don't, certainly in a world unlike North America where everything gets torn down, in your part of the world, in Europe, no matter where you go, you can see what came before, going back years and thousands of years in many cases. Your life right now is facing forward. Everything about what you're doing is facing forward. It's not just a name on your clinic. It's who you are, obviously. So you've got all of these various layers. Factoring leading ladies of dentistry, yet another ingredient into the molecular biology of your life. Okay? There are so many factors and chemicals and enzymes and running around in your life right now. And this is a part of it. So in the context of changing the playing field, making things more egalitarian, okay? Putting things across the board, okay? Given what you and Henriette are doing, given what others are supporting you in doing, you have all of these things operational. It's like this huge constellation of stars and moons and suns. So we're going to face forward, okay? Tell me how you're going to face forward in this new era where we have the ability to communicate like that in the middle of the day. We don't have to get on a plane. You don't have to leave home. You can do this. It'll get better, it'll look better. But how are all those things going to continue to play and act in concert? What are your thoughts?
Well, first, I enjoy hearing you because you say it so nicely. So thank you. Facing forward is it's a concept of life for me because it means, but if we make it simple, it means two things. First is all the new things that we do, the new generation of materials, the new generation of digitization, and all this, like we look at the future. So this is one thing. And the second thing is looking at the face as one, it's not separate. You don't correct your ears, your eyes, your nose, your teeth. You look at the face as a whole, things that go together in a synergy, in harmony. So this is like facing forward is also what dealing face. And that's why we have here ENT, plastic surgeon, oral maxillofacial surgeon, of course, prosthodontics, endodontics, periodontics, oral hygiene. And if a patient comes here, we want to give him the solution, if he wants to, of course. So for instance, sometimes I do extraction of wisdom tooth and the plastic surgeon do correction oculoplasty. And this happens here because you can give everything under one floor because we look at everything together. If I do orthodontic surgery, they can correct the shaping of the nose. And talking about this, I also want to say, because sometimes they say you do big surgery, and dentistry today is like going to micro. Everything is micro, do micro. And not all the time you can make everything microsurgery or micro treatment. Sometimes you need to look at the big picture. So facing forward is look, sometimes you need to be in the micro, but sometimes you need to be in the macro.
Right.
And this is what I mean, combination of treatment, combination of materials and teamwork. So this is facing forward.
Okay. What does primum no, I can't say it, primum non nocere mean to you? Why is that part of your, well, it's just part of who you are, primum non nocere.
Yes, you read the I Believe.
I read you. I spent time learning all about
your telephone?
Okay, my telephone. It's like I'm stuck at home. I can't leave. I got no place to go.
Look if I silenced it. So.
Go home. I can't even, well, I guess I could. I have to think about it. So,
Yeah,
what does that mean?
this is extremely important. First, do not harm. We all say it, but we all have to mean it. And especially in surgery, but I think everywhere, even in family, but especially if you're a doctor and you treat people, you know, sometimes before our kids decide where to go, they thought also about medicine. I have two in high techs, and one daughter is a cellist, and the closest to dentistry is our young daughter, who is veterinarian. So a vet, yeah. But when they talked, I always told them, listen, if you are looking for this profession, you have to remember that you take care of people and you touch the body, and you need not to do any harm. You have to be very careful when you decide what to do, because this is a completely different profession. You can do harm. You can do harm. And talking about this, there is a book, the checklist book. I don't know if you know about it. I'll just I'll remember the book in a minute. But you have to work in the WHO. We have a checklist for operation in the operating room, which comes from sometimes from a pilot checklist.
Oh, really?
Okay. And you know, when the pilot goes to the pilot, he has to check a few things, 8 to 10 things, and then he goes up. And we have our checklist when we go to the operating room. And many times people say the same as the pilot has to do, the oral surgeon or the surgeon has to do in the operating room. And I take lots of important things about checklists. But one has to remember as a surgeon that talking about, here it is, I'll show you, it's a checklist manifesto. Checklist manifesto.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Checklist manifesto.
Okay.
Sorry. Who wrote this is Atul Gaunad. He's an Indian guy, a surgeon. Actually, he has a very interesting TED lecture. But I'll ask you a question, Ken.
I don't know if I can answer it, but go ahead and ask it. That's okay.
What is the difference? You have best checklist before you go to treat a patient, endodontics or whatever. What is the difference between you or me as a surgeon and the pilot checklist? What is the difference between these two people?
There isn't. It's ultimately about being safe, both for yourself and for the patient. You have to ensure that no harm is done to either of you in any case, or the people who are your team. Everybody needs to be protected.
This is one thing. The second thing is the pilot goes on the he will be on the plan, and you are not.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Got
it. One has to remember that it doesn't matter if you don't go on the plan. You have to feel like you
feel it. Yes, yes, of course. Interesting. So, but we had spoken originally, and there's consistent threads throughout many of these interviews. Maybe I bring up the sort of the raising the conversation aspect of women, men, and dentistry. I'm old, so I can do it, and what's anybody going to say? I mean, I've been around for a long time, so for me to say it, it's reflection, it's what I see. I have a daughter. So there are topics that keep coming up, but the one that keeps coming up the most is pre-COVID, post-COVID, PPE, N95 masks, opening the dental offices again. All of these things, as if dentists before COVID worked in abattoirs, like we had sawdust on the floors of our offices. You know, we weren't concerned about it. The presumption is we now need to shift gears to be more infection control minded. We need to protect ourselves, our patients, our team, because COVID occurred. But that's not what's going on. That's not true. That is not true at all. Will how you approach patients now be any different than it was 2 months ago when there was lockdown? Is anything going to change in your surgeries?
Well, it was a big shock, all this COVID-19. And first, we were closed at home for 2 weeks. We didn't work. And then I started to work just emergency. But being a surgeon, everything is covered. The only thing that has changed is, yeah, there were changes. First, all the people, the elderly people didn't come and they were closed at their home, this is a very big problem by itself. But we treated the emergencies and we treated people who regularly would go to an hospital, but now we were seeking for private practice because they were afraid to go into the hospital because they felt more secure in our place because it's not the hospital and we won't have. Secondly, we were quite prepared because we have the operating room and the recovery room and everything. So we are prepared just in case. So we noticed the Ministry of Health that we have a place just in case they need more machines. So we have here the machine as everywhere, but gladly they didn't need us. So it was quite different. We cover a little bit more. So I closed the waiting room, of course, because it's not washable. It's still closed, by the way. I can show you later on. And we had a little bit more covered. But as a non-maxillofacial surgeon, we felt quite working usual.
Yes.
Yes. So it wasn't a big change, but mentally it was quite shocking.
There's no question that mentally it was overwhelming. I mean, not just our practices changed, our lives have changed and will continue to change for a long time. I don't know that everything will be back the way it was, but then nothing ever is. You know, it's like saying, I used to have a telephone, now I have a smartphone. So technology changed our lives. I think this sort of overwhelming, oh my God, look what's happened. It's horrible. People have died. It's tragic. But I'm talking about this as a dentist. You know, we are in the health sciences. Some of what we do is elective. You know, making things aesthetic, placing implants, all of this. But a lot of what dentists do as surgeons, irrespective of whether it's an implant or oncologic surgery, we were prepared all along. Nothing really changed. Can't put 12 people in a waiting room? I understand. You have to take their temperature at the door? I understand. But when you cross the threshold into the treatment area, nothing changed. And I don't know about in Israel, but in North America, we were not really asked for our help. Dentists weren't told, okay, we have to change the way we do health, you know, medicine, surgery. Nobody said to the dentist, well, you've had all this experience. You know, infection control has been a standard of your careers. We weren't asked to come forward. Has that been the case? Obviously, the ministry involved you because you had the equipment. But if somebody said to you, talk to me about, I'm putting you on the spot all the time, Dubi. I keep asking you pointed questions. If somebody said to you, the world of dentistry has changed, what do we as a profession have to do to make a difference starting today in terms of coping with the impacts of COVID? Is there that much that we have to do to adapt?
I agree with you, not much. But I think it depends what level you're talking. Working at the clinic only as dentist, I think we have understood better the environment and understanding how far the contamination can get. We teach that the students everywhere. We have all this film to teach the students how far it goes. So we know it.
Yes.
And now everybody knows and understands.
Yes.
And it's easy. I think from this point of view, we will keep almost the same. Listen, in Israel, we have now better education about washing hands.
Yes.
Before and after, and people understand more. It's more easy to explain why we do things. But I agree with you. Getting to the base, we keep on doing the same thing.
All right. Well, let's move off dentistry for a moment.
I think just in one way, it will be better. Like we do now. You said, what has changed? Just before it started, I had to go to Atlanta to Dental XP conference.
Yes.
Just the beginning of the problem, and I couldn't get away with it because El Al shut the X-ray.
Right.
So I told the Salama, Eddie, why won't you? I will give you the lecture, and then I'll just talk, and you can show me in screen. We didn't know about the Zoom so much.
Yeah.
Just 2 months ago.
2 months ago, right?
Yeah, 2 months ago. But things have changed for better in this direction, because many things can be done and be accepted like this, which we wouldn't do in the past.
No.
And we can get better communication, professional or even family communication, better communication than we had in the past, because we had to do it and we get used to it. Right. And now it will be for the best, because we can talk more through the Zoom or other technologies, which we wouldn't do otherwise. No. And we can maybe do more lectures, and I don't know about the companies. They won't like what I say.
No.
Sorry. People have to get together, to gather together, and I care a lot about the companies. But some of the meetings, the small meetings and closed meeting, can be done, without spending so much time in airports.
Yes, absolutely. I keep jumping the gun on you, and I'm sorry, because there's something that I want to get to, because it's exciting me. I'm going to say something, please don't take it the wrong way. One of the things I have found is that because I'm from Canada, cultural differences. I have been told that if something happened between you and your husband, if everything stopped, they would be standing at his door with a bunch of casseroles like food, and they would say, they want to marry him. They want to marry your husband. They all think he is amazing. Udi, who we're going to meet in a moment. Why? Because he is the wind beneath your wings. He is apparently the most supportive, the most incredible, the most charming, the most endearing, the sweetest, kindest, most caring human being in the world. And all of them will beat a path to his door if you decide, okay, I'm done. They'll be there in a heartbeat to offer themselves to him. So we'd like to meet him. I want to meet this individual.
I'm going. Bye.
Nice talking.
Udi, join us.
Udi, come.
Yeah. Before he comes, he's my first husband.
That's probably very important today. That says a lot, a great deal in this world today. We're all waiting. Hang on, I got to get dressed. Everybody outside.
The joke we carry since we got married. We got married 1918. This is Udi, my husband.
Hi.
Udi.
When did you two meet?
Married for 40 years.
40.
40. And since we got married, I told him, "You are my first husband. Remember it."
So I'm stand by.
I don't know if you are the last.
So I have a question for you. Okay, you're both very young.
We keep the tension.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Udi, you're walking down the street, I don't know, in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, in Haifa, in Nazareth, wherever. And suddenly there's this very beautiful brunette standing off in the corner. You just see her, she's shopping, she's looking in the windows, having a coffee at a cafe. You're just walking down the street and you see her. And your heart says, what does your heart say?
Go for it.
Go for it. That's not what I was hoping to hear from you, but go for it's not bad.
Run away!
Actually, we met in a show in Jerusalem. I came with my girlfriend, and she came with her boyfriend, and I don't know, things happened. We start dancing, and things happen, and I tried to find her address so we can make contact, and this was a challenge.
Yes.
I had to go to her boyfriend's house, and try and do some intelligence about where does she live. And then by the end of the day, I did find it, and from then on, we were, this was 1978.
He stole me.
He stole you. Oh my goodness.
From her boyfriend,
Actually, it was an immediate
Yes.
chemistry.
Yes.
And since then, we are together. We have 4 kids,
Wow.
boy
Yeah.
and 3 girls.
Yeah.
We have 7 grandchildren.
Nice. Isn't that the best? Isn't that lovely? Isn't
And
that?
they keep on doing, we stop.
Yes.
It's a good idea, actually, after a while. It gets a little wearing and draining. Question. What story could you tell about Udi that wouldn't embarrass him, but would tell people that are watching what it is about him that you respect and love the most?
In Udi?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm prejudicing it, obviously, but if,
Out of the room. I never tell him because,
okay, do like this. Udi, close your ears.
it's okay. Udi is a very smart guy. First of all, we talk a lot. We are very good friends. We work together now, but we didn't at the past. It's only the last 15 years we work together. Before I had my clinic, and he had a company of his own. And after the exit, then I started with the surgical center. I said, okay, you finished, you can come and help a little bit. And since then, not at the beginning, but we work together. So we meet, I told you, every time at lunch, but of course we have, I respect him, and we love each other, of course. And the most important thing, that he gives me space.
Space?
Space.
Ah, okay. Yes, space. Interesting. All right.
Yeah, that's one of.
Same question to you. Okay, so you've been married to this lovely lady for over 40 years. It was love at first sight. You've worked now with her for 15 years or more, beside her. So what could you say about Doobie that nobody else knows, that demonstrates just who she really is as a person?
Well, from the beginning, I was looking for an independent person. I was looking for a partner in life that has its own domain and has its own control on life. I believe in personal life and business. It's kind of a partnership. Of course, we have emotions, but on top of that, I think that's the foundation for me. That's my DNA. My DNA is to have a friend and to have a wife which stands on her own feet independently, and same for myself. And I think it's very important.
Yes.
That's my DNA. This is why I appreciate, most, and I think it's key for me.
Fantastic. What do you two do when you want to have fun together, when there's no dentistry, no grandchildren, no children, no nothing, no friends, just the two of you? okay, the world goes away. It fades off into the mist. And it's just you, Udi and Dubi. So, plus Dubi, okay? So, what do Udi and Dubi, I love that, that's great. What do Udi and Dubi do to just have fun by themselves?
When we don't have the grandchildren, you mean?
Everybody's
It's not about the grandchildren. That's a lot of logistics, you know.
What
I'm
would you
sure.
do? I
Yeah.
think we love music.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so we hear a lot of music, opera and music. And we love extreme sport as well.
Excuse me?
Yeah, sport. I mean, ski, climbing.
Oh, okay.
No, not extreme. No. We
Not
don't go on the Everest, but climbing Everest is just virtually. And talk. I would think we will talk a lot.
Yeah, we go to restaurants, of course. We like to
No,
travel.
but we are alone in the world. No restaurants.
Alone?
COVID-19.
I mean,
She makes dinner for you. Just a quiet evening at home. Then you make dinner with each
actually,
you know what
actually,
happened in the
oh,
COVID?
this is a miracle. Listen, that's a miracle.
This is a miracle.
What's that?
I never cooked before. I never cook. We have someone who do this job. Since we met, I decided not to do cooking. I do from time to time, but not. And this time we had to stay at home. We couldn't bring the one to cook and the one who treat the house. So Udi took over the treating of the house, and I started to cook. And I found myself enjoying it.
Ah, all right.
The chef in town.
And you can imagine the amount of dishes I had to clean. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Huge amounts.
I
Huge.
told the family the kitchen is closed a few weeks ago. That's it.
That's it. So I was, again, it's, as I say, it's very hard sometimes. Everybody's humor is different. So I wasn't being funny about all these other dentists would love to marry you. But they all say the same thing. They have never in their lives seen anyone so supportive and attentive to their spouse, considering the pressure that you're under all the time. I don't mean just work. I mean the travel, the this, the that. Yet never upset, never get agitated, just very calm, you know, like the Dead Sea, just very flat, very calm, and you're always there to support her. So they're all
Dead Sea in your eyes. It's very hurting.
they all say the same thing. Everybody says the same
That's
thing. You are just the perfect companion.
Wow, this is really.
we have to.
This is really
We have to
encouraging.
record it.
I'm so happy.
No, it's true. I'm not making this up.
We're having this interview, you know, such compliments you don't hear on a daily basis, you know. This is fantastic. Continue, please.
No, but they all say the same thing. Obviously, she's under a lot of pressure. She has to go to these conferences.
Knows us very well.
What do you do? What is it that you do that makes them so, oh my God, he's a rock star? Like what? What is it that you do?
That's Kathleen,
Huh?
Nudge, Kathleen, and Henrietta. Naji and
Yeah. Well, I have to be. I know. No, not just them. Not just them. Others.
yeah, we are friends too, and they know us, you know, for many years. It's totally true because Udi doesn't put himself in the front, and he doesn't care to just, you know, to back up and to make all this arrangements for me and to leave me with only the professional part. And I appreciate it very well. It works very well between us because we are also partners and also very good friends. And I don't think it could happen without it, this appreciation. And he's being so modest and standing aside for my career and passion.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm coming actually from the high-tech business. My life was in the high-tech business. For many, many years, I've built company, and then another one, and then we had exits. And after that, from that time on, when I joined Duby, it's very much okay for me to be on the back seat. I mean, it's her business, it's her daycare hospital, it's her doings. It's very much appreciated, and I'm in the back seat. So I don't have any ego issues here or any issues here that that creates any type of a problem. And this is how it's working. And I'm very happy for her. I think she's very successful. I think that what she's doing, I'm proud of what she's doing, and I think it's really amazing. And it's
not just amazing; it's quite remarkable. I don't know. It's interesting. I worked for or with a gentleman in Toronto who was involved in a technology startup as it pertains to dentistry, and he and his wife knew each other literally in the same way. They met each other in high school. They were childhood sweethearts. It's 40-odd years later. Grandchildren are coming, and it was like talking to them, just like talking to you. I don't know why. Again, it's a crucible. She's in technology. He's in technology. And when I would hear their story, I would feel the same way as the story I'm hearing right now. It's maybe it's just two accidental people. I don't know, but they're both Israeli, so who knows? Yeah, that's the point of this. So interestingly enough, I'm going to. I guess I should get on with this, but you have 7 grandchildren, right? 7? Is that what I heard? 4 daughters, 7 grandchildren, and more to come. Correct? Okay. So, like you said.
Probably.
Give you a train schedule to keep up with what's going on with you. So, under the circumstances, given where you live, given the nature of the world in which we live, and all kinds of crazy things that are going on, what do the two of you wish for your grandchildren? What do you want them to do in the world that is to come?
Okay. We talk about it a lot, of course, for the children and for the grandchildren and for their partners. And I would say something that I learned actually from my father and mother, that they will have to stand on their own feet, together with a partner, but on their own feet. Whatever they do, they need to go with their heart. That's why each of our kids do different profession. We never push them to do it, to come here or to do what we do, although we have a big business. They do different things. So it's very important to develop their abilities and to find what suits them. And I wish they would really find it. It's not so easy today with all this too many things that they have in the world. It's not so simple to find yourself, and they jump from one thing to the other. So the new generation has a very tough time. So we try to show them a little bit the way to begin with, to find their abilities and special things that it will be, that they could do things that they love. That's for me, it's the most important.
And for you, Udi, what do you want for them? What's your wish for them for the future?
First, we very much believe in education. We think education is very, very important. And well, they're still young, of course. It's not yet the time, but we do hope that each of them will have its own profession, and be able to develop from there. And this is this was the story with our children. Our daughter, the cellist Abigail, she was learning in the States. She was in Bloomington.
Really? Wow.
In Indiana and Bloomington for 4 years, and then in Juilliard for a couple of years. So,
yeah, her master's degree was in Juilliard School.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, and for music, because this is what that's her DNA. She loves music, and the rest, of course, we have our youngest, and she was studying veterinary in Liverpool, and our, you know, our son, he studied the business administration and so we really believe that, you know, they should follow their heart, and we are behind them, and we will support them.
Fantastic.
We will support them because we think that education is first and most important, the basis for everything later on.
There is another thing, equality. So talking about women,
Yes.
our daughter, the pilot, wrote to me in my birthday card, "Thank you, Mother, letting us think that everything is possible."
Wow.
And I keep this in my heart as a woman. She meant as a woman, from a woman to woman. She said, "Thank you for letting me think that everything is possible."
Wow.
And that's what we want to our grandchildren as well, to understand that everything is possible.
Well, okay, I'm getting a little teary-eyed because I too have grandchildren, and I want the same thing for them. It's not an easy world to grow up in today. Too many things are just wrong that need to be fixed. But that's a very special statement. And it's like your entire family, sort of the big circle around all of you is just love. It's like, it's powerful. And congratulations. That's a special gift. Thank you. I have to say goodbye. This was beyond an honor. Udi, this was delightful. Udi, a pleasure. And at some point in time when COVID decides to go away, I have to get back to the Eretz. And the reason for this is simple. Ziv Mazor invited me to lunch. And I didn't know that you would be there. I thought, how amazing is that?
Okay. So next time you're here, let us know.
I will do so. Thank you. That would be delightful. Thank you both. Thank you both for taking the time.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was amazing. Usually I'm used to talk about my profession. I was a little bit worried to begin with because I'm not used to talk about myself at all. Actually, not anymore. I just give professional lectures. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
It's my pleasure. I'm sure everybody listening are just enthralled. It was a delightful story and a continuing story, continuing saga. Thank you so much. Both of you have a wonderful day. Enjoy.